Hello, hello, hello. Greetings. It's Stephanie Outen, your literary doula, and I am so excited to be here this evening with our very first episode of Story Time with Stephanie, which is a segment of the Writer's Anointing podcast. So that's my podcast that was started last year. And that's a podcast where I share all tips, tools, and just techniques about writing. But Story Time with Stephanie is specifically designed as a platform for me to be able to introduce you all to various authors that have written one book, many books, but giving them an opportunity to really share about themselves, what it is that they've written about, the platform that they are speaking on, and just being able to really share their message, their story, and their books. So, first of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And I have two specific shout outs that I wanted to give. One was to a good, great friend and sister of mine, Annette Brown, who a few months back actually prophesied that I would be creating a platform in which authors would be able to share their books. And so I'm so thankful that she was able to share that with me and be able to really deliver what it is that God had impressed upon her heart, but also to Janine Van Wyck with Brave Leadership Consulting, the prophetic team, because she actually said to me as well and confirmed the same thing, that I was going to create this platform for authors to be able to share their works. And she was the one that came up with the title Storytime with Stephanie. So I'm so grateful to Janine and Annette for just being able to impress upon me what it is the Lord that has shared on their hearts. And so tonight, I am super excited to have our very first guest, Miss Tammy Mullings. Tammy Mullings is the author of Becoming Me, 10 Ways to Affirm Self-Love. And I'm so excited to have Tammy with us tonight because she has an amazing and powerful story, not just in her book, but just as a personal testament of her life and her profession and all the things that God has placed on her heart. So tonight, I want to be able to give Tammy the floor to really share about herself, share about her awesome book, which I have here, Becoming Me, if you can see that. Doop, doop, getting it on the screen, Becoming Me. And we'll share it in the comments as well. So you can see it. You'll have an opportunity to see the link to purchase. But I wanted to introduce Tammy Mullings to everyone. Tammy, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome. Welcome, Tammy. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what it is that you know you've been purposed to do here on earth, and tell us about your book, Becoming Me.
Well, good evening again. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me as your first guest. When I give ideas, I always seem to get suckered into, and you guys will learn a little bit more what I mean by that later on. So, I am a full-time entrepreneur. I provide virtual assistant services for entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs, small business owners. And I guess I have to start using this term, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. And so I wear several hats, and I have different companies that I either own or are part of. And I was in the corporate world for many, many years. I started when I was about 16 or 15, because in high school here in Florida or in Miami, you have to have community service hours in order to graduate. And so that's where my admin services started. And it that's where my love for helping people came, and that's how I got started. And so I am the youngest of three children. I enjoy traveling, although we can't do so much now.
Right.
And let me see what else. And so my book came to from my nonprofit organization that I have. My nonprofit organization is Beyond the Curves. It is a women's empowerment organization where we inspire to encourage and motivate women to love the skin that they're in the moment that they are right now. So we're not saying that, you can't make changes or you can't do things to better yourself, but you definitely want to and have to love who you are at the moment. And so I saw this picture. It was a little girl. She was sitting um she was sitting on the ground, and she had a pair of scissors holding it to her stomach to cut her stomach because she thought she was too big. And so when I saw that, I was just really bothered by that, and I was like, something, not that there aren't other organizations or other people that are deeming this message or talking about this thing. However, I just felt that being a plus size woman, I wanted to have that representation. Although my organization is not just for plus size women, however, I wanted to have a representation of someone that looked like me, that had some of the same struggles as me. And so my book came. It took me a long time to write my book.
How long?
And
How
what's
long?
it took me 5 years to write my book,
Okay,
to
that's all right.
write it, design it, and publish it.
Mhm.
And why I chuckled was because um listening to your podcast, I think it was the first or the second one, and you said it doesn't matter, and you don't believe in the, oh, in 30 days you can write your book, and in 90 days you can write your book. And when I heard that, I laughed because I was like, not that I'm ashamed that it took me 5 years, because I felt like it was done when it was supposed to be done. However, I was just like, yeah, that's this fad that you hear where people are like, oh, write your book in 90 days and get it published. And I'm like, okay.
And let me say this, because it is possible, right? It is
Right.
possible to write your book, get it published in 90 days. Absolutely. But there are some stories that the Lord literally has you still walking out, right? And so
Right.
with you, it taking you 5 years to write your book. There were things that the Lord still had you walking out, right? It took me three
Right.
years when I wrote my first book. And so I had to walk things out in order to be able to share them. And so
Right.
as you were going through that 5 year journey, what were the things that you were learning and still walking out as a part of becoming the you that you knew God wanted you to be? Because clearly you were in a place where you felt like you were not who you were designed to be. Would that be correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm
And so,
still getting there, as
yeah.
every day I'm still learning new things and how to better myself.
Absolutely. So tell the audience, what were you going through when you realized, you know what, I'm not the me that I believe I'm supposed to be. I'm not the me that I was purposed to be. And now I want to go on this journey to become me. Tell us about that.
Well, I watch a big amount of TV.
Me too.
And so just watching certain things and seeing certain things in real life, there was, and I actually hinted on this story, or wrote on the story in the book about where I was traveling one time, and again, being a plus size woman, and not that that's my platform, but again, that's a part of who I am. Um, I would see people, I love the beach, I love the water. And so I go to the beach and I see people, and I'm like, well, she look just like me, and she not like covered, and she don't have on shorts with her bathing suit. And I was just like, it's time that I like stop worrying about what other people said, stop worrying about like what people thought, or worrying about other people's perception of what I should look like, what I shouldn't look like, what I should do, and how I should do it. Because I often say, um, you don't know what a person goes through or what a person is going through
Mm-hmm.
during, like, in life. You don't know what a person is going through. And I suffer, or I deal with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so that's something that I touch on in my book as well. However, I bring that up because that is a lot of what, I don't want to say weighs me down, but that has to do with it's difficult for weight loss. It has different things that it comes with. So
Yeah.
it has a whole suitcase on its own,
Yes.
right? And so, sometimes it can be heavy to carry.
Mm,
However, we have to sometimes, or oftentimes, I feel like in our journeys, on our walk in life, we have to put some of these bags down and not be concerned about, again, what society says, what social media says,
yeah.
and just live your life. So when I went that last time, or one of the last times, when I saw someone in their bathing suits, and I'm like, I love the beach. So why am I not living
Mhm.
up to who I can be, or try to live up to who I am supposed to be, and walk in my purpose? I and that's that.
That's that. And you said, living your life. And I know one of your favorite songs is Living My Life Like It's Golden, right? And I
Yes.
definitely see that's what you're doing today, right? You
Yeah,
have let go of those bags. You said, I'm no longer willing to carry these heavy bags, right? Some things you can drop right away, some things you have to drop over time in order for you to
absolutely.
live that life that you're supposed to live. And so I'm just excited to see you on this end where you are living that golden life, happy,
Thank you.
joyful, being able to be that serial entrepreneur because my God, y'all, Tammy is a serial entrepreneur. She has about 72 businesses. And I'm just blessed to be able to work with her in any and every capacity that I do work with her. So I want us to
Not
dive into
72
this.
businesses.
About
I'm
72.
done.
You have about 72 businesses, Tammy. And I engage with her in her virtual assistant business. And so before we dive into your book, I want you to tell everyone a little bit more about what you do with TVM Business Solutions, right? You can tell them about your other 71 businesses at another time. But tonight you can talk about TVM Business Solutions and a little bit more about what you do on that side. And then we'll dive into the book.
Okay. So in my virtual assistant business, now I can talk about this topic all day, but we're not gonna take up a lot of
Yeah.
time with this. What I want to say is, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to ask for help. And also, don't think that it's more expensive. Get out of your head to think it's so expensive. Look at hiring a virtual assistant as an investment,
Yes.
right? Because it's definitely an investment that's going to, one, you're going to see a quick return on this investment, and two, it's going to allow you, it's going to free up a lot of time so that you can go and acquire more funds, more revenue, right?
Yes.
So, and with that, I also want you to remember that your virtual assistant is not your employee,
Yes.
right? Don't worry, Stephanie doesn't do that.
I do
Stephanie
not.
doesn't do that.
I do not.
However, there are people that hire virtual assistants and they think that they're their employee, and we're not your employee, right? And
Yes.
also, when hiring a virtual assistant, have a plan. Have a plan in place. And when I say have a plan in place, like, think of, and I was speaking with someone about this last week. So write down all the things that you do in your business on a day to day, or it on your day, everything you do on a day to day. Write a list out and separate it into three categories, right? Something that things that you hate doing, um, things that you just do because you know how, and things that you shouldn't be doing, right? And when you split that list up into those three categories, then you can say, okay, well, where circle the things like I would, if money was not a factor, I will pay someone to do this, right? Once you come up with that and you circle and you do whatever, then you go and you search for a virtual assistant. Because a virtual assistant, you cannot hire a virtual assistant and um and automatically assume that the virtual assistant knows what you need. Knows they you can't assume that they automatically know what you want in your business, right? And so some of the ways and things that I do to help my clients, I manage social media for them. I manage their back office, their back end, things like virtual events such as this.
Mm-hmm.
I do, creating, building newsletters, designing them, sending them out, scheduling them to go out, following up with clients, different things like that. Those are some of the most heavy and more weighted down things that I do in my business because clients just don't like to do it, i.e., social media, or they don't have the time.
Yes.
Right. And so that's what a virtual assistant, that's where we come into play and we help you to get those things done. And I enjoy doing it. When I decided to go full time, it was one of the best things I've done in my life, but also one of the scariest things I've done in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy. It's not a bed of roses. Listen. However, the flexibility is one of the most amazing things that I have.
Yes.
And I love it. I love what I do. And I don't just say that I love what I do because I'm here. No, I really love what I do. Now, do I have some crazy acting clients? I do. I get them
I'm
here
not
and
one of
there.
them. I'm
No,
not one
you're
of
not.
them.
You're
It's
not,
good.
Stephanie. You get them. And then you have good and you have bad clients. And you just have to in business, you just have to weed those people out. And remember, when you're an entrepreneur, you get to fire and hire who you.
That's
So
absolutely right.
yes.
I love it. I love it, Tammy. And I said this to Tammy the other day, y'all. Bringing Tammy on was the best investment that I've ever made in myself. And because of her and because of her support and the work that she's been doing with me, I was able to become the me that you see in front of you doing this story time with Stephanie, right? Because she was like,
Mhm.
put a date on it, let's get this thing going. And I'm like, oh God, okay, I have to do it. And she forced me into it. And because she forced me into it, I forced her to be the first guest.
Exactly.
So that's how it goes. We support each other, and she has been instrumental in helping me to really just do some things differently in business and free me up so that I actually can be very productive and take on new
Mhm.
clients and take on new work and take on new business. So I am so thankful for you helping me to become the me that everyone sees before them today. So, with that, let's talk about
Absolutely.
your book, Becoming Me 10 Ways to Affirm Self Love, right? And so we hear that term self love so often that we have to love ourselves. We have to love ourselves, right? And it's not always easy, right? I can speak from experience that loving myself, it took a lot of work that I
Yes.
still do daily because loving yourself is something that you have to actively participate in, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't
Yes.
just come naturally like, oh, I just love myself. You have to actively participate in loving yourself and reminding yourself that you're worthy, that you're beautiful, that you are God's gift. And so those are some of the things that you talk about in your book, some of the topics. You had
Mhm.
10 affirmations. There's
Yes.
four in particular that stood out to me that I want to
Uh-oh.
be able to, to talk about tonight. And we
Okay.
definitely want reader questions, right? If you've read the book, absolutely jump in and ask questions. If you haven't, based on what it is that we talk about tonight, feel free to chime in. If you have comments or if you want to ask questions, please do so. We'll see them in the comments and we'll respond. So I'll just kind of run through some of the chapters really quick. We have I am worthy, I am beautiful, forgive yourself, I am allowed to say no, My
That's a complete
birthright,
sentence.
a complete sentence with a period uh, at the end. Okay. My birthright, I accept myself, limitless possibilities, beauty within me, mind, body, and soul, and reject all negativity. I literally could talk about all of those things, right? And I would love for us to do that. We'll probably do a part two.
Okay.
But I want to focus on this first one. I am worthy. And you tell this powerful story about once you had applied for this job, right?
Mhm.
With only a little bit of experience that you had working with a previous supervisor. Tell them a little bit, just a nugget of that story and how you got to the place of recognizing your worth and knowing that you were worthy of more than what someone was trying to offer you.
Well, just a nugget, Stephanie says. So that nuggets are hard when I talk about this book because it's so relevant. But anyway,
All right, tell what you want to
I'm gonna
tell.
try.
Yes.
So, um, so I like you said, I applied for this job and it was something that I was already doing. Um, However, I was doing it as an admin. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I said, okay, I'm going to apply. I'm going to step out and apply because essentially I was already doing this job. I just didn't have the title. And so when I submitted all of the information, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I should have done that." Right? And when I look back and I think like, "Oh, why did I do that?" And I was like, because we self-sabotage, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I was like, no, no, no. I'm okay. I'm not gonna go back in there and tell them, can I have it back? Because I had
Mm.
already came up with this whole thing. I was like, can I get that back? Because I think I misspelled something and I want to fix it. And I was gonna get it, keep it, and not, and not submit it back. And
Mm.
so I came home and I spoke to my mom. I was like, Mom, I applied for this event planning position. And she was like, my mom is like, I love her to life. She's one of my biggest cheerleaders. She's like, oh, you'll be fine. You'll get it. And meanwhile, she's encouraging me and boosting me up. But I'm like, these people don't, And so I say all of that to say when I looked, I was because I do a lot of research. When it's something like that, I research it.
Mm.
And so, I was looking and I was like, well, again, other places had the same similar jobs. So I I would be open or confident enough to go and apply with these other companies. So why not be comfortable in the same spot where you are now?
Right.
And I think a part of that was with that particular company or organization rather was because we have to remember to validate ourselves
Mhm.
and not look for validation from other people.
Mm.
And that's what I was doing in the in the admin position. I
Mm.
was looking for validation because I used to bust my butt.
Mhm.
Like I used to work sometimes 80, I would work sometimes 50 to 60 hours in a week. Okay.
Mm. Yeah.
And still take work home and do work at home.
Yep. Been
And
there.
so I think it was just, I, I say validation, but I kind of think, I really think it was more so appreciation,
Yeah.
just showing like, oh, Dad, Tammy is over there. She really knocking this stuff out. She's kicking butt. Like,
Mhm.
and I appreciate that. However, I wasn't getting that. So when I submitted that application, it was just like a ugh. And then
Mm.
it started to become again the whole self-sabotage. And then it turned into like an attitude and anger, like, oh, they
Mm.
better give me this job because I done did all this work. However, if I was getting the appreciation shown
Yeah.
and the validation, I don't think that I would have had that transitional of, from
Mhm.
self-sabotage to doubting, and I don't think it would
Mhm.
have been like that. I think if I would was getting the appreciation, not even the validation, but the appreciation,
Mhm.
I believe that that whole process for me would have gone better,
Yeah.
smoother. I mean, essentially I did get the position. And so, but it still went on to things of the lack of appreciation,
Mhm.
lack of resources. And I was literally running a whole department by myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I feel that looking back now in that moment, I feel as though showing showing up and validating myself to confirm that I was actually worthy of that
Yes.
job. I was
Yes.
worthy of that position. There was nothing, although I had less qualifications than other
Mhm.
applicants, there was nothing that stopped me from getting that because I was worthy.
Yes.
I was deserving of that.
And that's the key, is knowing within yourself that you're deserving. And that's so many times a challenge that as women, we'll be honest, we have that, right? Where we don't feel like we're deserving. We don't feel like we're
Right.
enough. And so being that we're in that space internally, that shows up on the outside too,
Mhm.
right? Where people won't
Right.
give us the level of respect, the level of appreciation, the validation, because we're internally feeling like we don't deserve it. And anyone who has
Mhm.
thoughts about that, comments or questions, feel free to jump in and ask.
Yeah.
But I've been in that position, so I completely understand what you were going through. Where was the point where you said, you know what, I need to rise up in my worth? I'm going to stand up in this because I do know I'm worthy. Like, what did you actually have to say or do to get that position for them to see that you were worthy of it and that you did deserve it?
So the funny thing is, I don't think that they saw my worth until after I left.
Mm, yeah.
And so I don't want to talk too much about the organization.
Yeah, we don't need to bring up the
However,
organization.
however, um the department was phased out of the budget,
Mm,
phased out, and I use that term loosely.
yeah.
That's an off-air conversation. The 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 department was phased out of the budget, and then
Mm,
and then after I left, it was the community, the people that I had worked with,
mhm.
that would see me in the stores or see me at different events and was like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Tammy, what happened?" And so it was that. And then having previous people there that
Mhm.
say to me, like, "Oh, it's not the same since you're no
Mhm.
longer there." And I'm like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, they
So
feel they feel it
yeah,
once you're gone. Erica says, "I
yeah,
know that feeling," right? And I
yeah,
think so many of us who are on this live right now feel it. We've been there.
yes.
We know what it feels like. And
Mm-hmm.
to get those comments later on, it actually makes you feel good. Like, yeah, I knew y'all couldn't do
Exactly.
without me.
Exactly. Exactly. And really quick, I just lost my train of thought, so never mind.
That's
Keep
okay. If
going.
it comes back, you just jump on in.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the affirmations that you have in the book, specifically about I am worthy, it says, you are worthy of all the good things in life. You are worthy of all the amazing things that come into your life.
Into your
I
life.
am worthy. And I love this one because I actually have a painting on the wall that says, I am worthy. And it was
Oh,
something that Tanisha says she's been there, right?
been there.
I had
Yeah.
to remind myself that I was worthy. And I have that painting right where I can see it as soon as I wake up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, before I go to bed. So I can always remind myself that I am worthy. And so I was just excited to see that was your first
Yes.
affirmation in the book. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit about number three, which is forgive yourself. And you said forgiving yourself is just as important as forgiving others. So, where were you in your life where you realized that there were things you had not forgiven yourself for? Um, and that you had to get to that place of forgiving yourself because it truly is just as important as forgiving other people. If we cannot forgive ourselves, we're doing ourselves an injustice. So, what was
Right.
that point for you where you realized you hadn't forgiven yourself for some things?
Well, I have, well, I'm the youngest, as I mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
And my two eldest siblings, they grew up in different homes because we have a different parent.
Mhm.
And so with one of my siblings, I believe there was like bitterness and anger and maybe even envy because
Mm,
that's my dad's child, because I had my dad with me.
mm,
And growing up as a child, I'm like, well, I I had no control over this situation,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
wasn't there when you were born and I just came on the scene, like, you know. And so I always wondered, like, well, why isn't our relationship how I am with like my best friend or
Mm,
with other friends that I'm close with? Because, and not to say that you can't have disputes or
mm,
disruptions with siblings, however, it was just non-existent.
mhm.
It would be here today, gone tomorrow type, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had to release that and say to myself, like, I know I didn't do anything in this situation because, again, I'm not the parent, I'm not the adult.
Mhm.
So I had to I had to forgive the sibling
Yeah.
as well as forgiving myself. Now, I didn't
Mm,
forgive the sibling like in person. I wrote it because I do journal. So I wrote it out, and I in that forgiveness, I included myself. I forgave myself for trying to be the hero, I guess you can kind of
yeah.
say, because I was trying to make it like I was trying to make it work, I guess maybe you can say.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'm like, but I'm not the parent. So why the hell am I trying to I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I shouldn't say that.
That's
But why
okay.
but
Okay.
why am I here as a child, a teenager
Mhm.
trying to fix this? Like
Mm,
you should have taken this up 16 years ago
yeah.
when I was a teenager. Go and talk to your father or your
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I had to forgive myself for that, and I had to forgive myself for trying to fix it because I know I couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
Especially ultimately after my dad passed, and um like just nasty things
Mm,
went on social media, and I'm like, I gotta just,
yeah.
so I just had to I just had to forgive in that moment because, again, I didn't want malice on my heart.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I had malice. I think it was more of like just questioning, like trying to figure out like why
Yeah.
when, again, I didn't create this
Mhm.
situation. And
Yeah. This one spoke volumes to me, and even hearing you share that story about your father, and it raises some things for me that I literally just kind of walked through this process myself, of being able to forgive myself
mhm,
for, and I'll get emotional, so I gotta breathe. But
yeah.
forgiving myself for years ago when my father passed away. I did not grow up with my father. I didn't have a relationship with him, and it was shortly before he passed away that I learned he had another child who would have been younger. He had several. We'll put this. he was a Rolling Stone. Papa was a Rolling Stone. He was. He had
Oh,
several other children outside of the
mhm,
children, between my mom. And there was one child in particular that I learned about who was a younger sister. And I learned about her maybe a couple weeks, I think, before he passed away. And so his, I guess, dying wish was that he wanted me to know my sister. And I
mm,
was perturbed, right? Because here it was,
mm.
I spent all these years not knowing you. You don't necessarily want to get to know me, but you want me to know this sister.
This sibling, right?
And I was not happy about that, right? And I had some
Mm,
cross words for
mm,
him, and they were not kind words, and they were the only and the
yeah.
last words that he heard from me before he passed
Mm,
away. Now,
wow.
I'm grateful that I did take the opportunity to know my sister,
Mhm,
Chanel Austin. Shout outs to her because she has been such a blessing in my life, and
mhm.
she was able to teach me and help me learn so much about that side of my family that I didn't
Right.
know about, but
Mhm.
also to learn that she and I had shared experiences. And so I was
Right.
grateful to be able to know her. I love her dearly. I'm grateful for her in my life. But I had to forgive myself because I held on for so long to the fact that I had this horrible conversation with him before he
Yeah.
died. And that hemmed me up, right? And so
Mm,
I
mhm.
had to forgive, right? And it
Yeah.
was just recently, like within the past month, that I went through
Wow.
that process of forgiving myself for
Wow.
the words that I shared to him. So
Mhm.
yeah, this chapter right here in your book, Tammy, it was like an awakening for me to be able to read it. And it's so important for us to understand that we have to forgive ourselves.
Yes.
We're the first person that we have to forgive. When we learn how to forgive ourselves, it is so much easier to be able to forgive others and have
Others.
compassion
Yes.
for other people.
Yes.
And so
No
I
matter
thank you.
how no matter how bad the experiences with
Yeah.
them was. If you
Yes.
forgive yourself first, then you can definitely forgive them.
Woo.
Because
Absolutely.
remember, we're not forgiving them for them. We're forgiving them for us.
Yes.
That's what's
Yes.
most important.
Yes.
That's
So
definitely what's most important.
what broke in you? Like what broke in you when you got to that place of saying, you know what, I forgive myself? What broke off of you? I know what broke off of me was anger, resentment, and bitterness. Those were the three things that broke off of me when I was able to forgive myself. What broke off of you when you were able to
I
forgive
think I
yourself?
think for me, just it was a bit of anger as well because I would see these sisters,
Mhm.
right? I would see sisters do things together and I'm like, why? Like, and it would bother me so much. And I'm like, but I have her sister. My
Yeah.
sister's not deceased. She's here, standing,
Yeah.
walking the earth. But why? And so I was just like, I can't be angry every time I see sisters hanging out or posting and talking about, doing things with their sister. I should be like, that should be a celebration
Yes.
because way too many times women are tearing each other down, whether it's sisters or friendships. So I should not be angry when I see that sort of connection.
Yes.
So when I got to that, I had to say, you know what, it's not cool, it's not cute. And I just had to just let it go. I had to release that. I really
Yeah.
did. I had to. It
Mm.
was beneficial for me.
Yeah. It freed
There's a
you.
comment here.
Yeah, I
Yes.
see Jamie Bird Grant. She said, "This touch home. I also had to forgive myself for words spoken to my dad out of anger.
Mm,
And when he was killed, which was the same day, I said those cruel words. I
mm.
held on to that for years, just regretting my actions." And y'all, I know Jamie personally, and she's currently writing her book. And so
Wow.
when you hear her story, yeah, it's going to set
Wow.
some people free. So what you shared about forgiveness, Tammy, it is so vital. It's so vital, and it's something that we all need to be able to walk through. in our lives. So I appreciate you just being candid about your story as well, to set some
No
people
problem.
free about
Mhm.
what it means to forgive themselves. And Tanisha
Right.
said, wow, forgiveness sets you free, although sometimes it's not easy. It's not
It's
easy.
it's never easy. If
It's
it's
never easy.
easy, I don't think you mean it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
It's
takes some
no.
blood, sweat, and tears to
Whew.
forgive. I laid on the floor, I snotted, cried for a
Go
long
crawl up
time.
under the bed, like
Okay.
type of yeah.
Look, want to wrap up here, want to wrap up under this blanket and be like,
Right. Exactly.
it's painful, right? But
Oh,
sometimes we make it harder on ourselves than it has to
yes.
be, right? Because
Yes.
Jesus just easily forgave us. We make
Right.
it harder to forgive
He
ourselves.
continuously forgives us.
Just like my daughter, I forgive you. Why can't we do the same? Why? I'm asking that question. Somebody in the comments, chat it out. Tell us why. Why can't we just easily forgive ourselves? Right? Trust and believe
It's
is
just
not.
not. It ain't that easy.
It ain't right. That's a process we'll always be walking through our entire lives. But the blessing is we get to do it, right? And
Yes.
so I'm
Yes.
so grateful for that. All right, so I want to
Mhm.
make sure we get through these other chapters that were so just powerful for me. This was Tammy.
Yeah.
I am allowed to say no to others.
Hello.
When you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. That comes from Paulo Coelho, right?
That
When
part.
you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. You are allowed to say no to others. It's called setting boundaries.
Yes.
It's
Setting
called
them and
setting
sticking
boundaries.
to it.
Yes, Erica got the raised hands. Stick to those boundaries that you set. So
Yes.
talk to us about when you got to the place of being able to say no to others so that you could say yes to yourself.
So I read a book. I love reading. And it was Shonda Rhimes' book, Year of the Yes. I think that's the name of the book.
Yes.
And let me tell you, she freed my whole soul. Like,
Yes.
whew, if you didn't read
Yes.
that book, get mine and her book and read them together.
Read them both. Read them both.
Read them
Absolutely.
both. Um, but reading that book and just right,
Oh,
reading
yeah.
that and just learning and understanding, like, I can actually tell people no and nothing bad is going to happen.
Ooh, say that again. Say it again,
Like
Tammy.
saying no and being okay with it and knowing that nothing bad is going to happen.
Yes.
Like, because for a very long time,
Ooh,
growing up, especially for me, I didn't say this. However, if you know me, I am Bahamian Jamaican, right?
yes.
And so having two island parents is whew,
Jesus. Yep.
okay.
Jamaican. Got it.
You know.
Fully.
Right. And so it was, you could never tell an adult no,
Yes.
right?
Mm.
You could never tell an adult no.
Ooh,
Even as an adult right now, you still have that instilled in you.
yes.
And so one day I was like, you know what? The next two people that call me, text me, email me, DM me, whatever it is, I'm going to say no.
They got to
And
know.
let me tell you something. The first time it came, I was like, oh Jesus. I was like, Lord, I can't, can I really do this? And I'm so serious because I was just like, I was really having like anxiety about that.
Mhm.
I'm like, I can't, and then you want me to write this and put this in this book and tell people to say no? I'm like, okay. I was like, well, if this is what's going in this book, I definitely have to test this out
Yes.
and know that it actually works. Like,
Yes.
it's a thing.
Yes.
And so the first time, I'm telling you, one day I did it 3 times back to back when I was
Woo.
trying it, testing and walking this journey. And someone called me and said, "Hey, can I get a ride? I'll give you gas money."
I'm
You
sorry.
know, okay, no problem. On a regular, I would have said, "Where you need to go? Am I just dropping you off?" Like, that's what I would have said, right? Well, after gas money, I was like, "Oh, Jesus, where's the no?" Because, like, there was nothing coming up or coming out, right? And so I'm like, "Where is the no?" I'm like, "Is this the person I'm supposed to say no to? Where is the no?" And so they were like, "Hello, can you hear me?" And I was like, "Oh, what did you say? I think you broke up." Yeah, that's all I had at the moment.
Yeah. No, I
And
didn't hear
so,
you.
right. And so they asked me again, "Hey, do you think you would drop me off or give me a ride? Whatever it was. Do you think you can give me a ride?" And I was like, "Oh no, I can't do that right now because I'm busy." Right.
Mm,
And so what I had to learn was you have to say no without an explanation. That's how it really works.
mm,
You don't just say no and because I'm
oh,
busy, you just say no without an explanation. Because
yes.
what happens is you give an explanation and then you leave the door open for, well, when are you not busy? Or, well, when can you? Or, you sure you can't? So that didn't go off too well.
Yeah.
So the second person came along and I literally I think not think that only God could have walked me through that experience when I was
Yes.
doing that because I am a giving person, because I have such a big heart, like I had to learn to say no because people will take your kindness for weakness,
Yeah, they will.
right? And so when I came to the second person, I was like, "No, I can't. Thank I'll talk to you later." And I left it like that.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "That's it."
And you didn't get
I was
hurt,
like,
harmed,
and it
or
didn't hurt.
hindered in that
I didn't
process.
pass out. I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Oh yeah, this is good."
That
I was
felt
like, "Okay,
good.
where's number 3? Where's number 3?" And so once I learned that again, when I said no and I had no explanation, it was just
Yes.
no period, no exclamation point.
Yes.
Whatever day it was on that day, that was the
Yes.
complete sentence that you were going
Mm.
to get. And I still use no to this day. I will say
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Once you say no, that's it. Like the conversation is over. Like you don't need exactly you don't need to say anything else because unless they want to say, "Oh, well, I'll talk to you later," or something like that.
Yeah.
However, once you say no, that's it. And you yourself have to be open to that. You have to try it. I even had a friend of mine, we grew up together from middle school to high school, and we're still friends to this day. And when I was in the writing process, excuse me, of my book,
Mhm.
I said to her, she had a situation with someone at church, and I was like, "Listen, I'm going to send you this page. I need you to read it and do the exercise." And she called me back screaming and hollering. She was like, "Girl, I'm saying no for the rest of the year."
You got people running around the world saying, "No, no,
I was
no,
like, but
no,
it's
no, no, no,
so
no."
liberating because again, you
Yeah.
grow up, especially for me being a Caribbean child, an island girl, you grow up
Yes.
thinking you have to say yes to everybody and everything. And
Woo.
you don't, because when you are empty, who's going to fill you up when
Yeah.
everybody's always coming to you for the refill?
Woo. Tammy, you said a whole mouthful. right there. And I want to jump back. I saw a lot of comments coming through.
Yes,
I want to jump back to some of them. I saw Tanisha said you get to see people for who they are and what their real intentions are
tell them no.
when you
Oh,
say no. Woo!
mm,
You see the devil and all of his imps rise up when you say
yes,
no to people who have some poor intentions with their
yes,
ask, right? And
yes,
so, ooh, and we had another one. Monica said, having a season of no showed me who and what in my life were only taking withdrawals and not making deposits. So
absolutely.
true. We had Claudette. She said, when I learned no is a complete sentence and sentiment, we became buddies. Become buddies, friends, best friends with the word no, because it'll
Exactly.
save your life, right? It
Yes,
saves your life.
yes, yes,
Whew, this has been
absolutely.
that chapter right there. When I tell you, I had to sit in that one because that's what I'm learning now about
Yes,
saying no and being okay with it, right? And even saying
exactly.
no to myself, because sometimes there's some
It,
things that we want to say yes to for ourselves, but we got to be able to
yes,
cut it off and say, no, no, I don't need to do that.
yes,
No, now is not the right time,
yes.
right? And so, even being able to do that for yourself, how has that impacted you? Saying no to the things that you felt like you were supposed to do, wanted to do at that time, but you knew that saying no at that time would actually free you for being able to do something else.
That's a good question because I have to I have to do that and use that a lot in my business,
Yes.
especially my virtual assistant business.
Yeah.
Because I think I mentioned it earlier, like not everyone, well, I don't think, but anyway, not everyone is meant to work with you. And you're not meant to work with everyone,
That's
no
right.
matter what you're doing in life. Like, you're not meant to work with everyone, and everyone is not supposed to work with you.
That's right.
Like,
No matter
everyone
how
should
much
not
money
have
they're gonna pay you.
eh, that part,
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah.
And so, by learning that, by knowing from during my process of learning the no, and then bringing that over into my business, it saved me. And
Mm.
then let me give you this disobedient side of me.
Oh yes. Woo.
For not saying no and saying yes,
Mm.
it teaches you, like, didn't I tell you you should have said no?
Yes. Oh
Self, I
yes.
say, Tammy, oh yeah, my bad. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't listen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then now
Yeah.
I got to pay the price for saying
Exactly.
yes when I was supposed to say no.
Right. Folks don't want to pay their invoices. Folks don't. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we gonna move. Yeah, because entrepreneur life, that yeah, we gonna step away from that. And Jamie said, I just told myself no to something I've been contemplating on, and it felt good to know I have self-control.
Yes.
Yes,
That is self
self-control
control.
is a form of self-love.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Ooh, thank you.
Absolutely.
That hit
Thank you.
in the right
Yes.
place, Jamie. Thank you for that. All right, we got one more chapter. We got 7 minutes, and I want you all should see running across the screen how you can purchase Tammy's book. Go to bit.ly/becoming me book. I want y'all to purchase this book because it's an opportunity for you to reflect, to journal about the whole process of becoming me and those 10 ways to affirm self love. And so I want to talk about this last chapter. And then, Tammy, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you, right?
Okay.
So that they can get in contact with you, learn more about what you have going on. And I want you to actually tell them what you have upcoming. Okay.
All right.
So this one is number 5, My Birthright. I'm not even going to go into anything. I just want you to talk about it. What did that mean for you? My birthright.
So for that one, it was really it was really just it almost kind of goes back to the worthy affirmation,
Yes.
but it was just like it was almost like a I'm worthy point A part 2, type
Yeah.
thing, because a lot of times we forget we forget ourselves when we're doing things. We forget about everyone. It's about that giving, always giving, and no one replenishing, no one
Yeah.
giving back.
Yeah.
Like someone said, not you're withdrawing from us, but you're not depositing, right?
Yes.
And so I had to remember, like, wait a minute, you're giving too much and you're not getting enough, but you're here for a purpose. So is this purpose, or
Mm,
is this you living crazy and reckless, right?
yeah.
So I just had to I kind of like had to remind myself in my writing process, like,
Mhm.
you this is, like, this belongs to you. The good stuff, the contract signed, the invoices, you go to sleep, wake up, deposits, like all of these things
Yeah.
belong to you. Like, you deserve this. This is your purpose. Like, and I'm not saying that money is everything, because it's not. However, you need money to live, right?
Mhm. Yeah. It feels
So
good to get it.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it sure
so,
does.
right. And so, all the good people that come into your life, like, you deserve this. Like,
Yeah.
you deserve this. And
It is
yes, we may
birthright.
have, right, exactly.
Mhm.
It is your birthright.
Yeah.
And although we may have bad experiences with people or business or whatever the case may be, that's not, those are life lessons that
Yeah.
teaches us and makes us appreciate our birthright even more.
Mm. Oh, that's so well said. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Tammy. Becoming Me 10
Yes,
ways
you're
to
welcome.
affirm self love. And I know y'all probably have a hard time seeing this, but we're going to post it in the comments so that you have a chance to see it. Tammy, tell the audience where they can find you, social media, your website, and
Okay.
yeah, share that for us.
So I'm mainly on Instagram these days.
Okay.
So TVM Business Solutions, that's my virtual assistant. And that's TVM Business Solutions. And then for my book, Becoming Me, you definitely want to stay tuned and follow that page. It's Becoming Me 15, Becoming Me, the numbers 1 and 5. My website is tvmbusinesssolutions.com. And for my book, I think y'all can see mine, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
For my book, I'm actually going to be doing a 1 day workshop for those that read my book, right? And so I have some other things that I have coming up. I'll share one of
Yes.
them because Stephanie is my stretcher. Like, she said earlier, like, I make her do stuff. I'm the boss, but she also make me do stuff. Like, I got on a call with her it was supposed to be for 15 minutes, and she just changed the whole trajectory. See, she got me can't even talk, but she changed the whole, like, so so where I thought I was gonna be doing another journal, she was like, "No, a journal? Scratch that." So I'm actually going to be doing a course with my book. Yes, she does it. She does, Monica. Yes. Um. So I'm actually going to be doing a course on my book, or based
Mhm.
around my book. So I
Yes.
think it's a 6 week course. I think it was.
I believe we said 6 weeks. We're working on it to
we
get her
it's
course
right.
ready
We're
for
still
you all.
developing it. We're still developing it. However, if you follow me on all things social media, my personal
Yes.
page, Tamilla Mullings, it'll definitely be posted, and I'll be getting my website up soon. For don't put that petty post up.
Is that Mika?
Yes, don't put that petty post up.
At least you listen to
Um,
somebody.
I'm gonna behave because this is not my page. I'm going to behave. However, um, we're still developing the course.
Yes.
So if you follow me, and I'll be working on my website soon so that you guys can sign up for emails and notifications and things like that. And I also, the one big thing that this lady right here stretched me, I'm also going to be creating a self love or self care box kit,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm really, really excited about it. I'm not telling y'all what's in it,
But
but
some nice
just stay
stuff.
tuned for it. It's going to be so awesome. And I'm really, really appreciative for my other nut, Claudette. I know she was on here. I'm
She's on
appreciative
here.
of her connecting me with Stephanie, and I'm appreciative of Stephanie for stretching me. This year my word is intentional, and so I'm definitely being intentional with my living and my purpose and the work that I do. And so my book is definitely not going to just be a book, it's going to be other things to go with it. So thank you for having me, and
Thank
you
you.
guys, thank you for purchasing, for those that are going to purchase. And I'm
Yes,
not
they're
saying
going
that
to
it's
purchase.
something I'm not saying that it's something that you should purchase and it's a good read because I wrote it. I'm telling you this because I actually, the things that are in here are the things that I actually went through and I
Yeah.
did my work on. So it's a really good tool for teen girls and for adults to check it out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, go buy that book. I was having some technical difficulties. I was trying to post the cover of the book, but I wasn't able to do that. But I will. I'll post it on the page just so you guys can see it. But again, go to that bit.ly link. If you weren't able to write it down, it's right there, bit.ly. So it's bit.ly/becoming me book. Get your copy of it today. It is an awesome, quick read, but gives you an opportunity to really self-reflect on those places that really promote self-love. And I'm just so grateful for you all joining us tonight. Join our mailing list at stephanieouten.com. We're in the process of building out a new site separate from my Cocoon Twins publishing website. So just excited for all the amazing things that God has in store. We'll be doing
Yes.
Storytime with Stephanie every other Monday. So stay tuned for that in a couple of weeks when we have our next guest, Miss Brina Fields. And I am just so thankful to you, Tammy, for spending the time with us tonight. Thank you, Jamie. I see your comment about me being a jewel and a blessing. You all are the same for me. I really love and value and appreciate everything that you all pour into my life, and everything that God pours into me so I can pour it back into you all. And Tammy, you
Absolutely.
are just an invaluable asset. I mean, I
Thank
cannot
you.
thank you enough for not just being a part of my life, being a support system for me, but also writing this book and putting me in a place of really recognizing the things that I still have to walk through to become the me that God says I'm supposed to be. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I know I did. And
Yes,
thank you
I
so
did.
much, Tammy, for just shining tonight. So please share with someone, watch the replay. We are
Yes.
so thankful that you joined us tonight. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening and good night.
Good night.
Good night.